What's up, you guys? Jono and Holly here with the Selling North Dallas real estate team. Today, we're going over what's happening in the North Dallas real estate market. We got a lot to cover. We're going to give you an update on what the Selling North Dallas real estate market update tool is telling us from a data perspective. We're going to talk about what inventory is doing, price reductions from builders, and last but not least, we've got a special visitor. Stick around to the end. You don't want to miss it. Hey guys, Jono and Holly here with Selling North Dallas. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we would love for you to like the video, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. We do a real estate market update every week for the real estate happenings here in Dallas, DFW, the Metroplex, whatever you call it. Okay, Holly, so where do we start? There's so much happening right now. Do we want to go into the tool first, or you want to talk about what you just had happen with one of the builders that we do a lot of work with?
No way, man. I'm going to hold that builder. No, I'm going to hold that builder info for a minute. I think that is exciting information. So I'm going to go with the boring stuff first, the data. It's good information, right?
First.
Yeah.
Well, let me pull up. Let me share my screen here. All right. So going into the Selling North Dallas Real Estate Market Update tool. By the way, this is available for free download. Down in the description of this video, there's a link. We'll send the video to you and you can go through and perform these searches to your heart's content. Whether you're looking here in North Dallas or you want to check the market in your local area, all that is available through the good folks at Altos via this report. So Holly, every week we talk about what's going on in Collin County. What are you seeing over here?
What are you seeing?
So we're definitely feeling that little bit of selling, right? Or settling. We took the biggest hit. We've talked about back in mid-May and April, we were at 100% seller's market. We're closer to 46 right now, which we still call a seller's market.
That's what they call it.
One of the reasons that this is still a seller's market is the amount of inventory we have is still historically low, even though it's more than zero. And the number of days on market is still very low, even though it's more than 3 days, right? So we're still in a really strong market in North Texas. It's great news for sellers. If they bought a home 5 or 7 years ago, they're still cashing out with a ton of equity. If they are looking to buy right now versus the last 2 years, they do have more inventory to select from. We have less competition right now just due to, general public concerns, a little bit of instability with those interest rates. But we definitely have some ideas on that, how a buyer can get that interest rate a little bit lower, what their options are, and why it's still a really great time to buy.
It's a great time to buy.
Yeah, it's interesting to me how just people talk. You know how people are.
What people? The people from people.
And they'll say things like, the inventory is going crazy, nobody's buying houses anymore, but that's not what the data shows. So in July of this year, inventory was sitting at 2655 and now we're at 2846. That's quite a bit more, but it's not life-changing more, right? And if you look at the days on market, I think what we remember is stuff selling in 3-4 days, right? Getting it under contract that quickly. The furthest this goes back is July, and it shows median days on market of 14 days, and we're sitting at 42. So I ran a quick search on the MLS. I just couldn't help myself. And
you had to prove our tool, right or wrong?
Yeah, the saying, if you assault data enough, it will confess to anything. But we could probably take the same data set, one that says the sky is falling and one that says there's never been a better time than any, which will clue you into our guest that we've got at the end. But I want the data to be able to stand on its own and not have some salesperson trying to sell me their version of the data. So what I did here is I looked at closed properties going back the last 30 days. This is from today, looking specifically at Collin County. Now the median list price is $549. So I performed the search, active inventory right now on the MLS, Collin County, and the price is between $525,000 and $550,000. There's 168 properties. If we add 42 days on market, which is the average, it drops down to 98. So Holly, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah, it could mean a few things. This time of year can always be a little bit questionable in how many listings we have and how fast things are selling. This is kind of our normal slow-ish time of year, fall getting into winter. But the cool thing we saw here, the interesting thing, in my opinion, especially when I'm talking to sellers who want to list their property, we all want the most for our home, right? We want to get the most money back out. However, every single buyer and seller has their own motivation, and pricing right now is going to drive the timeline on the market. It's the only thing we really can control unless we want to do updates. We want to paint the house, right? We have sellers who can't or don't want to put money into a property. And the interesting thing here is when you look at these homes that are 42 days and more on the market, I think you're going to see a lot of price reductions in here. They have to price reduce along the timeline in order to find the right buyer, because the buyers they're being a little bit pickier right now. They do have more than one or two homes to choose from. And, the interest rates are a little higher. They're having to be a bit more conservative with the cash in hand. So we're seeing things just shift a little bit. Even though we're still selling, we still have plenty of buyers in the market. We have to be a little bit more in tune with the data and what buyers are actually willing to do right now.
So if I click this results button, what I'm hearing you say is we're probably going to see a ton of price reductions. Is that a fair assumption?
Fair assumption. And the more days on market a home sits, either they did not price reduce because they were not willing, right? The motivation is not there to sell, or they might have price reduced too late in the game. In our normal market, which I always go back to 2019 and say, okay, that was our normal market. That felt really normal. That felt really stable. It felt like what we were used to. So right now we need to compare to 2019. We don't need to compare to the last 2 years because those 2 years were an anomaly. So when we go back to 2019 and we say, hey, what were we doing? We would say things to our seller like, hey, if we're not getting the right feedback, we're not getting the number of showings, no, we're not getting offers on the property at this list price, we need to make a decision, and we need to do it within the first 14 days and the first 30 days. Those are the two timelines we've traditionally looked at based on the speed to sell, right? And again, every seller has their own motivation, their own timeline, what they're willing to give up per se.
I love the saying, there's a difference in being on the market and in the market. So let's look at these results, shall we?
Yeah.
Oh, but look at this. Original list price, $725, dropped to $550. Original list price, $600, dropped to $550. $25,000 drop, $40,000 drop, $50,000 drop, on and on and on. Now, some of these are new construction. That says something.
And to be fair to the data, Jono, when we see new construction, which again, for 2 years, we didn't have a lot of new construction in the MLS. They were sold before we could ever get them listed. We didn't even see them. We weren't having data for new construction. So we have data again for new construction. So in all fairness to days on the market, a builder will put an inventory spec home on the market potentially 6 months before it's going to be completed. And it may not go under contract until it's much closer to completion, which is not abnormal. So we are going to see those days on the market shift upward in a lot of cases, just strictly due to having actual new construction back in the data, which we didn't have for 2 years. So again, in all fairness, right, we're going to see that. And then secondary, we are seeing builders take price reductions. Number one, they had to get back in line with a little more inventory, right? People didn't have to go out and just buy the first home that was available. And secondary, they're getting their budgets a little bit more in line because our supply chains have cleared up a little bit. Our lumber prices have gone down. So it's going to be a little bit twofold when we see some of these builder price reductions. Some people go, oh my gosh, look at the builders, look what they're doing. They're lowering their prices. They're taking big price cuts. Yes. And they have the ability to better budget than they have for the last 2 years. For the last 2 years, they were having to almost solve some previous losses when those lumber prices went through the roof. They already had projects under contract. So there's a lot of moving parts in this. So it's really hard when I see the national media say this is happening or that's happening, and they don't give the context behind it, because we're sitting in our North Texas market and we're doing this every day, and we know exactly what's happening. We can actually see it and feel it in real time.
No, that's good. So tell us a story of a recent builder situation. I have never heard of this happening. Ever. So I just think it's great. So what happened?
So this is a great story, and I wonder if I may have told pieces of it previously, but this just kind of happened in the last week or so. We have a buyer under contract with a builder, a big name builder who is highly respected in our market. So the buyer's under contract. They're not supposed to be complete until March. We got the call, first of all, that they're going to be complete in November. They can close anytime they're ready now, which was great news because we've had nothing but delays for 2 years. So this was literally a home that was ready almost 5 months earlier than anticipated. In the same week, we were notified that that builder is going to give our buyer who is already under contract a $45,000 price reduction. They didn't have to. The buyer was under contract at a specific price point. Let's say the price was $700,000. And the builder legitimately called us and said, hey, we have great news for you. Our budgets came in, lumber prices have gone down, our supply chain issues have cleared up. We are able to pass that savings on to our current clients. And we want to say thank you. And we want to give you a $45,000 price reduction on your contract. It's unheard of. I've never had a builder do it. And for the last 2 years, we had we're going to charge you $100,000 more, and it's going to take us 6 more months. So this was a really.
I went to high school in Western Kentucky, so I'm a little slow. No offense to my Kentucky people on the channel. It sounds like you just said you were under contract at a given price, and the builder called and unsolicited a $45,000 price reduction, even though it was already under contract.
Yeah. So this was a big light bulb moment for me because we are starting to see, right? We get a lot of builder spam, right? Builder spam mail. We get a lot of email from builders saying, hey, here's our inventory. Here's our new price sheet. Here's, an incentive package for buyers. And we've started seeing builders take price reductions, as we just pointed out on the MLS. They're taking price reductions on that base price because the market has shifted from what was happening the last 2 years. We're back to a little bit more stable market. So here's the deal. If a buyer is right now under contract with a builder, I would highly, highly, highly recommend they go to that builder website for their community and compare the base price to what their base price was on the contract. You're always going to have your upgrades and your design features, but what if you call your builder and say, hey, I see that I'm under contract with a base price of $600,000. Your new base price on your website for my floor plan is $550,000, right? Can you even appraise if their base price has changed that drastically and you're not closing for another 3 or 4 months? So it puts the buyer in a kind of has the upper hand a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, so if your
realtor's not working for you and actually doing this ground level work, then they're not working for you. So
not only are we all about data, not drama, but we're about providing value to people.
Yeah.
It does not benefit the real estate agent to have a $45,000 price reduction. That's money out of your pocket. Why would you do that? Did the builder call the client or did the builder call you?
Well, the builder, they did both. They called me first to let me know and said, how do you want to handle it? And I said, honestly, I'm going to call them, but I want you to call them first because this is unheard of. And it was a very stand-up thing for the builder to do. If anybody wants the name of the builder, they should reach out to us because we do have some opinions on who the great builders are, who we had good experiences with over the last 2 years. I tell people all the time, a lot of real estate agents don't work in new construction, and not because they don't know how, it's just because maybe it doesn't come up for them. I believe I've built with clients 12 to 15 homes in the last 18 months. And I say 18 months because it took us longer, but we do a lot of new construction. We work with a lot of different builders, and it gives us some context. Not all builders are creative equal, either in general construction finish out or customer service. And so this really stood out to me that this builder took it upon themselves to do that. And for us, I want my clients to have the best deal. I want my seller to sell at the highest price, and I want my buyer to buy at the best price. That's how we win. We're not winning by making a couple $100 extra on commission. That's irrelevant. I want my buyers to come back every single time and say, man, you fought for us, you worked for us, and we appreciate it, because that's really what we're here for.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Okay. Should we get to our special guest?
Yes, I love it.
I would go so far as to say this guy changed my life. Gosh, when was that? 2008. He wrote a book and Katie read it And she's like, you got to read this book. And I was stubborn. It's like, no, I hate to read. And I've since shifted my mindset about that. But I read this book and it changed my philosophy on money and my relationship with money. And this is kind of a popular clip floating around in the real estate world, but I want to play something for you and then get your 2 cents on it.
Now is the best time to buy a house in the next 5 years. Right now. And here's why. Okay, prices are not going to go down. Some of you are saying, well, I'm going to wait for prices to come down. You're not going to get them. They're not coming down. Okay, they're going to go up slower, but they're not going to go down. They may not go up hardly at all, but they're not going to go down. And so 5 years from today, houses are going to be more expensive. This is as cheap as it's going to be in the next 5 years. So this is the best price right now if you're going to buy a house. Well, interest rates are up. Buy the house. If interest rates come back down, refinance. Yeah. But don't not buy waiting on interest rates to come down. Just refinance the mortgage if interest rates come down. This is the best time to buy a house in the next 5 years. Right now.
Man, I love getting a little bit of credibility from somebody in that realm, right? He doesn't just talk about real estate. He talks about economics as a general rule, money, financial investing, obviously. And it's so good because it's something we say regularly. We've looked at the data, we've shown the data. We know that we have in our specific market, right? We can call all of the US has a general, I think the average is 3.9% increase year over year in house pricing. That's the average nationally. And you and I pulled that data a while back in one of our earlier videos, and we're somewhere around 7 to 7.5% on average for the last 15 years. I think is 12 years what we were able to go back. I can't recall now.
Here in North Texas.
Yeah, here in North Texas, we have a traditionally higher average, at least what we've seen. So even if we went with the national average of 4%, if you buy today, in 5 years, the house will be more expensive. So that's pretty simple math, right? Like, will it go down slightly between now and January? I don't know, maybe. It depends on what's on the market. It depends on how many buyers are in the market. It depends on what interest rates do. All of those things are going to adjust and kind of create some little pockets of differences. However, if you're looking to buy the house because you want to raise a family or you want to be near work or you need to make this move or whatever, buying now is going to be better for you financially than renting in the short term and buying a year from now. The house is not likely to be cheaper, especially in North Texas. If I had to make that statement, in a year, it's not going to be cheaper. We're going to continually go up. We're going to go up a little slower. We're going to go up a little less because we had a big hit of those increases in the last 2 years. What goes up must come down. It had to settle a little bit. I'm going to say it again. I kind of beat this dead horse every week. It was a false inflationary value increase due to lack of inventory, what was happening with the pandemic, and cash flush from the stock market. All of those things changed in the last 6 months, and we're feeling it. So people are watching it saying, oh gosh, I can buy more house if the interest rate goes down. Okay, so are we trying to max out our budget, or are we trying to get in the best house for our current goals and needs for the next 5 to 10 years, right? What is the goal? The goal really determines the action.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Well, so if you're watching this, you might be wondering, well, how do I get in contact with you guys? If you'll drop down in the description, there's a link to a Google form. It says schedule a Zoom meeting. We should probably rename that because typically it ends up being a phone call. But if you click that link, it takes you to a Google form, and let us know what your interests are. And I'll reach out to you. We'll have a conversation over the phone, and let's figure out what's best for you right now. Instead of now, obviously Dave Ramsey is a national guy, and he's speaking to the broad base. He's speaking to the masses. And irrespective of what you think about Dave Ramsey, he carries weight to his words. So until next time.
Bye, Felicia.